What's going on, guys? Basic here. Longtime viewers of my Twitch channel will know that I absolutely hate running water park on 200cc. The stairs at the beginning can randomly fling you into the air, costing a bunch of time. The loop-de-loop is just one big neutral drift, which really isn't super exciting to play, and overall the course just doesn't have a lot going for it. So when I sat down to put together a run for this video, I really wasn't looking forward to it, to be honest. Fortunately though, I was pleasantly surprised by how fun this course was to practice on. In Mario Kart Stadium, the difficulty is entirely contained in 3 finicky nisks that can randomly decide not to work for no apparent reason. In contrast, water park is just generally difficult throughout the entire course. However, unlike Mario Kart Stadium, this course is actually really consistent, and once you learn a strat, you're pretty much good to go. Welcome to part 2 of Basic Training. In this video, we're going to be doing an in-depth guide for water park on 150cc. We're going to cover things like recommended builds, mushroom strats, and other advanced tips and tricks to help you start mastering the course. Before we get started, if you find this type of content useful, I'd really appreciate if you liked the video and shared it with others. Also, I'm going to be putting together one of these videos every single week, and I'm also going to be doing more deep dive type videos where I break things down like item management and build optimization. So if you're not already a subscriber, I definitely recommend doing so and hitting the notification bell so you can see the videos as soon as they drop. With all that out of the way, let's get started. First things first, the recommended build for this course is going to be Roy with Mr. Scooty, Azure Rollers, and Paper Glider. This is actually a really solid build, and you're going to see either this or the same build replaced with Biddy Buggy show up in a ton of courses. This is because, in general, this build provides the best trade-off between raw speed and a mini turbo for most of the tracks in the game. If you don't like listening to Roy's dumb yells, you can also use Waluigi or DK. The build I'm going to be using is Villager, Biddy Buggy, Azure Rollers, and Paper Glider, which is just slightly worse than the recommended build, but still a pretty solid choice. For those who didn't watch the last video, the reason I'm doing different builds than the recommended builds is because I'm part of a league that does theme time trials, and this just happens to be the theme that we're following for the week. Anyways, that's enough of that. Let's get into the strats. Water park is a course that starts off fast and stays there. Case in point, as soon as the race starts, we have a starting mushroom and a series of rapid-fire mini-turbos, one right after the other. At the start of the race, you want to be holding down the shroom button so that you can use the mushroom on the first possible frame after the race starts. You also want to be holding left a little bit so that you can be at a good angle to get the coins at the very start, like you can see here. You also want to start a right drift pretty much as soon as you can so that you can get a mini turbo as soon as you grab the coins. The next step is to release the mini turbo and immediately start a left drift. You want to build up another mini turbo kind of before you get to the stairs. That way you can release it, and that by the time you get to the top of the stairs, you can once again start another right drift around the top. For this one, you're going to want to build up a super mini turbo, or SMT, which is the orange boost. You should be able to build it up before dropping down to the next part of the track here. Now when you release it, you're going to want to start yet another drift to try and build up an SMT before the upcoming ramp. So here comes the first bit that's maybe a bit unexpected. Once you get to the ramp, what you're going to want to do is release the SMT and then hop left such that you land on the ramp in a drift. Now keep holding the drift button, and while you're in midair, if you keep holding left, your angular momentum won't change, meaning that you'll keep going in the same direction that you left the ramp at, but you'll be able to charge an SMT in mid-air before landing on the first underwater portion of the track below. This is faster than tricking for a couple reasons. First, it helps limit the amount of time you spend in the air, which is just generally going to be slower since you can't accelerate in mid-air. The other reason is that the SMT boost is a little bit more powerful than the trick. Let's take another look at this in slightly higher speed. So we start with a mushroom and right drift, mini turbo into left drift, right drift towards the top of the stairs, charge and release an SMT, immediately start another right drift, charge and release an SMT, left drift on the top of the ramp, and then hold hard left until you get into the water, and then release the SMT when you land. Man, can you believe we've only made it through the first 25% or so of the track? The rest should go a lot more quickly than that. Okay, so after landing in the water, we're going to almost immediately want to start drifting into the loop-de-loop to build up not one, but 2 ultra mini turbos. or purple boosts. We're going to take advantage of some tech called counter hopping, which is what I'm doing here. This is what we did on Mario Kart Stadium to get through the first NISC. Basically what you want to do is first hop right and then drift left. This will allow you to build up the first UMT without bonking into the wall over here. You also want to try and make sure to hit the little blimp here so you can get the little boost from the spinners. Now, once we get the first UMT, we want to release and immediately start another left drift to build up a second UMT. You're probably going to have to hold the drift well into the straightaway like you see me do here in order to build up the second one, but it's definitely worth it. Now, for each line of 3 coins in the upcoming carousel section, you want to take the one that's closer to the inside of the turn. So the rightmost coin in the first line, and the leftmost coin in the second line. The way we do this is by counter hopping right after getting the second UMT and then doing a right drift. Release as soon as you build up the MT, and then left drift to snag the second coin. Immediately start another right drift and try and hug the turn as tightly as possible. While maintaining your drift, you're going to then want to start holding left on the joystick to get a little bit of a wider angle so that you can snag the 3 coins before the glider here. Now notice the angle that I've got. This is not a mistake. You want to fly well off the right side of the track here, and then start turning left to get back onto the track once you pass the tree. I'm not entirely sure why this happens, but there's some funky mechanics with how glider movement affects speed, and the angle that you need to hold to get back onto the track basically causes you to move faster than going straight off the glider. The other thing to note with the glider section is that you definitely don't want to be tricking off the glider here. I explain why in my drifting video, but long story short, tricking off of a glider resets your speed before giving you the trick boost, so just taking a UMT is faster than tricking. Alright, once we've got back onto the track, we're officially done with lap 1. Laps 2 and 3 are similar except for a couple of key strats. The first one is that when going up the stairs here, you want to counter hop after getting the coins on the right hand side of the track, and then drift up the stairs to build up an SMT. Getting 2 UMTs in the loop-de-loop on laps 2 and 3 is much harder than on lap 1 due to the increased speed that you'll get from having 10 coins. But it definitely is possible, and once again saves a lot of time. The other difference on laps 2 and 3 is the glider section. You may have noticed that I didn't use any additional mushrooms on lap 1. Basically, the carousel cut is slower than just getting a good racing line in that section and then using a mushroom on a straightaway. But it turns out there's an even more effective way to use your mushroom. When you're about to exit the carousel section and start your drift, right after the portion where the track changes, you're going to use your mushroom here. This will help you stay within the little gray band in this part of the track while still allowing you to build up a UMT before the glider. Let's look at that again in slightly higher speed. So we use the mushroom right here, build up the UMT, and fly off the right side of the track, just like we did on lap 1. Other than that, laps 2 and 3 play pretty much the same as lap 1. Now let's take a look at a full time trial so we can get all these strats put together in a single run. Some closing thoughts. This track is tough, like really tough. There's a ton of stuff to learn, and executing all these strats properly in a single run is going to take quite a bit of practice. But like I mentioned before, where the NISCs in Mario Kart Stadium can often feel like they're robbing you for no apparent reason, once you learn the strats here, they're generally really consistent, which is why I think I enjoyed running this track so much. Certainly more than I thought I was going to before starting the grind. That's going to be all from me for this video. Again, if you found it helpful or informative, I'd really appreciate if you dropped a like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.